Welcome back, everyone. I'm Tom Murphy, and this is Trinidad Now on Trinidad Times TV on our local Comcast channel 71 and on YouTube. We are in beautiful downtown Trinidad in the Chappelle House, built in 1886, and it's election season. And with me today is mayoral candidate for the first time ever, Cy Michaels. Cy, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Tom, for doing this for all of us.
Well, you're welcome. I've done several interviews. I was a little bit rusty. I'm kind of getting back in the groove. I've done a lot of interviews in my time. I just had gone for a long period, so I was a little bit rusty on the earlier ones, and people will see that. So what we've done is we've prepared the questions, and what we're doing for all the candidates is letting them see them before you sit down, and so you're not being caught off guard with any unexpected questions. So you've reviewed them, and what I'm going to do is if I ask you a question, if you say something interesting, I might veer off a little bit, and follow up on that.
Sure.
But other than that, it's just you and I having a conversation. We've known each other for a long time, and I appreciate...
A long time.
Yes.
30 years plus.
Yes. And I appreciate you and Manny and all the other people that are running for council and for mayor, because I think people can complain a lot, but they need to get involved if they're going to complain, and you're getting involved.
Yeah, and I mean, blessings to everybody that is getting involved, because it does take a lot to be in the arena when you know you're trying for your community.
But you jumped in the deep pool.
I did jump in the deep pool, but that's because I felt like my community needed me.
Good. So we're going to start with question number one. So why are you running for city council?
I'm running for mayor.
And the
reason, that's okay. And the reason why I'm running for mayor is because last October, when there was talking going on about who was going to run for mayor, a bunch of people kept trying to get together and choose who they would go behind. And they were looking for a business person and somebody that knew about public safety and about bringing teams together and about big budgets and economic development, and somebody that knew about tourism, and somebody that just knew about the local arts and the entrepreneurs, and the list went on. And numerous people came to me and said, "You're that person." And I said, "I'm not really sure if I'm that person." And then I realized how daunting of a task that would be, with people needing me and all the problems that we've had over the last couple of years with tax revenues going down and everything. And I looked at that list, and I was that person. And I don't know how you can be a servant leader when your city is hurting like it is and not throw your hat in, even though you know it's going to be tough.
Right.
So that's why I'm running, because I feel like I know I can make a difference.
Well, how long have you been in Trinidad?
I bought property here 40 years ago and moved here a little over 30 years ago just to build a cabin in the woods, and then I was going to go back to the city and not have the small town life. But man, you know it, and everybody knows that I fell in love with Trinidad.
Right.
And in 30 years, there's not one single day I have not been on a local, state, or national board supporting Trinidad.
Really?
Every day.
This is a little bit veering off. Can you name some of those?
Oh, there's so many. The soup kitchen board I was on and cooked on Thursdays. The tourism board over 15 years. I was the original president of the Main Street board. I'm on the creative district board. I'm on the state judicial board for our area. I was on planning and zoning as a sub for a year. I was on just so many different boards. I've been on the national board for it. I've been on this Colorado Tourism Office, top 20 for tourism. I got the Jack Snow Award. Seems embarrassing for the person that has most been life dedicated to making a difference in tourism in the state of Colorado. I have been passionate about jobs. I have done job creation. I actually don't know anybody who lives in Trinidad right now who's done more job creation than myself. I gave birth to my daughter at the hospital here. I've raised family here. I know the kids here. I have a deep sense of being an aunt to so many people that have worked for me, that I've cared about their families. I'm just been really pledged into Trinidad, became my hometown.
Excellent. Okay. So you've kind of answered this, but we're still going to ask it. What is your most valuable experience you're bringing to the table, and how will this experience benefit the city? I know we kind of covered that, but I'm going to go through the questions anyway.
Experience in every single one of those things, including healthcare. I was on the Mount Carmel board as chair when Salud came in. Big teams. One of my employees got named the world's best housekeeper in Las Vegas, and that didn't only come because she was good. That became because she was on our team. Became because she wanted to be a leader. Right. And I am so grateful for all the leaders I've been able to grow in Trinidad, including Manny, who was my employee at the Country Kitchen in Holiday Inn when I had it. I'm so proud of so many of the local kids, and it's one aspect I always kind of get disarrayed with in Trinidad, is that we have to care about the families, and we have to care about the kids and the children and what their amenities are and what they're doing in Trinidad, because I mean the school systems, I mean we have a little not connection when it comes to the county and the city and the children of our community and the city.
Right. Well, good. And we'll be interviewing Manny right after this, and I'm glad that
and
you
he's
guys...
great, yeah. No, I actually sent him a plant and a letter about a month ahead of time saying, hey, we're doing this, Manny, and I'll cheer you on, but I want you to know I'm going to win, and you can sit by my side since you'll still be on city council, and I will take care of you.
Thank you for that, Si. With what's going on in politics, it's reassuring and to know that we can do this civilly.
Mm-hmm. And that's what absolutely. No, this is a small community.
Right.
We all have to work together. And I'm a trained federal facilitator. So one of my big things is trying to bring groups of people together that may not agree on things, and giving them a point and a common ground, and mediating through that common ground so we can come up with a solution, not just stay separate, but bringing it together.
Well, Si, here's where I'm going to veer off just a little bit as people that are following my questions. One of the issues I think that I've noticed since I've been covering things for 20 years is the city and the county, the divide. And they've had numerous meetings. I was there. I filmed them. There was some pleasantries, and then there were some hostilities, and it seemed like it was more of a complaint session where people got things off their chest and they talked about working together, but then nothing really ever came of it. Is that something that you might be willing to address in city, county?
I absolutely am going to address it. We are going to be a team. We're going to work through it, and we are going to be a team.
You got some big fences to knock down.
We're going to find our common ground. These are all lovely people, and most of the time it's about communication. Once you sit at a table and actually talk it out, you can come to where there's a common ground. But as long as you're standing in separate rooms, we can't accomplish anything, and we got to do it for love. If everybody just took the town of Trinidad and placed it as our child in the front of us, and we wanted to make sure our child was healthy, and we wanted to make sure it was educated and emotionally and physically. If we wanted to make sure that there was good streams of recreation for them, just like you raise a child, to make sure there's money and availability for stuff, we together have to just do what we all while we're all running, and that is we love Trinidad, and we're going to make it so much better.
All right.
And I'm excited.
All right, so again, you've kind of covered this, and my questions are no, I did just ask that. I'm sorry, I'm going to move on to the next question. I just reread the last question. How will you balance the needs of all the constituents, including longtime residents, transplants, working class adults, families, ranchers, farmers, and others?
Sure. Again, I'm a trained federal mediator, and I really want to be able to hear everybody and bring it to the table, and we're going to figure it out. And that's what I've done on 10,000 occasions over 30 years, and that's what we're going to do.
So what is a trained federal mediator?
Okay, so long before I got into the hospitality in the last 30 years, I worked for the FAA, Federal Aviation Administration. I was an air traffic controller in the Great Lakes region, and I was a federal mediator trained through the government at that time. I was also actually worked under Elizabeth Doyle. I wrote the first EEO laws for the government, for Equal Employment Opportunity Act. It was one of the ways that I got a commendation from the government, was by doing that back in the 80s. And so I am really excited about everybody being able to look at each other in the eyes when we're done and give a smile, because everybody kind of got what they wanted, but we were working together as a team.
Right.
And that's how I have made so many national and award-winning teams, is because we look at what the object is, and that's what we're working after, not any of our individual things, but how it works together for our child, Trinidad, that we're trying to grow up healthy.
Okay. This isn't a question, it's a comment. I kind of missed the 1980s. It was a little, reflect now, it was a little easier. No cell phones, no internet, it was just a little bit easier. So, how you deal with inter-council conflicts, citizen conflicts, and what does conflict resolution look like to you?
Well, again, conflict looks like to me the mediation, having a common ground, working at what the topic is that we're trying to get through, and you just go through the laws of mediation. Right.
Okay. And I had this written on here, and I left it off my written statements until I wrote it in with the first interview that I did. So maybe you're not as prepared, but you certainly are familiar with this situation. Let's talk about the homeless situation in Trinidad. Sure. What can city do about it? They just passed the camping ban, but as much as you want to talk about this, please do. Well, it's a very important topic.
The unhoused is really a tough subject right now. I know that Molly and a lot of people are working on different groups. We need to get those groups together.
Who's Molly?
She is down at the market, and she's helping the city.
Okay,
and she's doing a great job. I didn't talk to her in depth, but we actually need to get everybody together with what's necessary. We need to find out from the state what is available. But there's two issues here, and I just want to say this about the unhoused, because there's the unhoused needed, the unhoused that wants to be unhoused, the unhoused that's vagrants, the unhoused that needs help because they got addicted to something, so the unhoused that are running from something. I was on the soup kitchen board for 3 years. I helped cook at the soup kitchen every Thursday, and it was actually the day of the week I really looked forward to, because I knew at that point who drank too much, who was new in town, who was not new in town. I think Terry and their group do a fabulous job of it. There is so much going on with the unhoused. I need to get a wrap around everything that is available to do it. But where it comes to trashing our parks, that's a different subject. So it doesn't matter if it's the Star varsity football team. It doesn't matter if it's the Girl Scouts. If anybody uses Grandpa's Garage, if anybody uses Chimino Park, if anybody uses any park, even if it's a major good team and they trash it with needles and they trash it with garbage, that has to be addressed. And then the unhoused is a separate situation. Had we had a park where people were going and they were picking up garbage, picking up trash bags, picking up the stuff along the river, and making sure that the lawn and everything looks safe, people might have said, we're not even addressing the unhoused. So there's two different deals going on here, and everybody keeps confusing them. They're confusing that the unhoused and the mess of the park, it doesn't matter who was in the park. Leaving it a mess is wrong. Now, dealing with the unhoused is a separate thing that needs to know what is all available.
All right. Well, one of the issues is I talked with one of the candidates, and I think it's fairly well known in the city, is the bathroom facilities. And it just seems like that would be one, if you're homeless, that would be one of the basic needs that you would need. But the problem is that they have been destroyed by what we think is these people. I've been told in some cases it's not always the homeless.
Right.
So what do we, because it's a huge expense to the city, but what do we do about providing those basic facilities that they may or may not destroy?
Everybody needs a good leader at different times in their life. Why do we have teachers in school systems? And the unhoused needs better leaders too. Right. The unhoused needs leaders that said, they're allow us to use this or that, or they're giving you a place to live, so this is the way you act in response to respect.
Right.
People are just confusing just trying to take the unhoused and throwing them in one corner that way. If we're going to make a solution, we need to make a solution based on all the facts. And one of the facts is the unhoused and the park. And if they're responsible for the detriment to the park, then we need leaders that teach them the right way to act so that they're acceptable, just like in a school.
Right. Interesting. Okay. So what does government transparency mean to you?
It means accessible to public. I have run companies, and for a long time my books are completely open, and that's the way transparency is supposed to be. And most of the time when you're not being transparent, they automatically think that you're hiding something.
Right.
If you give people good reasons on why you did something, and everybody sees from a mediation point of view of why it's done, it's easier to understand.
Right. This is a little bit veering off, but there's always some issues when there's an event. This last weekend was the Rad Festival. And of course some streets were blocked off and whatnot. And some people, there's always somebody that's not happy because they've been blocked off. What are some of the solutions to that?
Well, first of all, I don't know all the issues that happened. I do know that prior to the RAD and dealing with the RAD, which by the way is fabulous, that they decide to do their ending bike race for the year in Trinidad, Colorado. Okay. That's huge because they're all over the U.S. and it's huge that they decide to come here. Most of these people, I shouldn't say that, most of the attendees, very healthy people with a disposable income to have good bikes, family-minded people. Right. We had nice people in town. There was no riffraff in town. So we have to find out what the challenges were that people in town thought there was a problem and change them so we can still have the RAD but make other ways happier. And there's a way to do it. Again, it's because we don't sit together as a mediation and figure it out. Like all of a sudden some people feel the pressure to do it, so they do something and they're in the arena.
Right.
And so the people that aren't in the arena can go ahead and find fault with what they're doing, but they're not in the arena, but they might be right on the sidelines of the arena because we have artists and entrepreneurs and museums and everything going on downtown. Of course they need to be heard. And there's 1,000% we can come up with a solution. We just all have to sit together to do it.
Right. And some of these people need to show up.
Yeah.
And before they complain after the fact.
And sometimes they don't know. In all fairness, sometimes I've heard somebody that is a sweet and nice and wonderful person not get it because they've only heard this much from the people that want to complain. We need to throw it in together and decide what's best for our child, Trinidad.
Right. Okay. What are your top 3 project priorities? Capital improvements, programming, adjusting things at City Hall.
Well, I'm pretty passionate, as anybody that knows me.
I don't know. Being facetious, people.
I am pretty passionate, so it would be hard for me to say just 3, but I could say that obviously working with the unhoused and figuring out what we're going to do there, the Riverwalk, cleaning up downtown. We're cleaning up downtown. We're cleaning up the streets. It should be a place that people want to come. They want to walk. They feel absolutely, if they're driving from the northbound, going to Santa Fe or Taos or Albuquerque or all the places that we have heard people coming into town saying, I drove through Trinidad on the way to Santa Fe. We need cleaned up, paving road. Exit 14 is a big one and a changer. Also, we need a connection somehow to Fisher's Peak, even if it is taking the sidewalk all the way up from Santa Fe Trail. That is over and over and over again. Small towns, you look at that with state parks and walking trails. There needs to be a connection, even if it's awkward. And the other thing that we don't talk about that drives me crazy, goes back to the next thing, is we need to pay attention to our kids. I don't know how we run as a city without knowing what's going on in some of our schools, and we need to raise our kids up. Our kids need to feel like they're defended, like aunts and uncles along the streets. We don't see enough of our local kids walking down the streets. Why is that? Why don't we have a recreation or a youth center downtown? And there's a few buildings that could be used for a youth center out town. Our kids need to know that our ears are open and that we care.
Right. Well, you were a big part, and this is veering off just a little bit. You were a big part of the Fisher's Peak.
I was the gang of 14.
How did that happen? Without going too far in depth, because I don't want to veer off too far.
Yeah. Jay Cimino and I talked about it. He went to go talk to Mayor Phil. We put together the gang of 14. We contacted the state. Greg Sund was a hero for city manager at the time. He ran in and did what he did. They consistently came down, stayed at the La Quinta. I packed lunches. We took hikes. And my goodness, we got that money together in 18 months. And it is still shocking to me that all that project took was people loving to save a place for Trinidad, but save a place in general. It just was right next to Trinidad. And now we have the peregrine falcons, the fastest animal on earth, that come here and decide to come here from the East Coast every year.
So we didn't know that.
Yeah, it's incredible. The fastest animal on earth goes up to 240 miles an hour. The females are slightly larger than the male. They mate for life. Right. Trinidad could have weddings. It should be the place that you want to come and get married, because the birds that mate here mate for life.
Right.
I mean, so the recreation center for the local kids, the connection to Fisher's Peak, the unhoused, exit 14, paving roads. I have them down. I've been working on my little guide here and finding out what state grants are available. And I have quite a few projects, but they're all Americana, good for families, good for us.
Well, so you've got your finger on the pulse in the hospitality business. Has the Peak brought up some of your
absolutely.
Your
oh yeah.
I mean, not your travels, but your beds and heads in beds.
Yeah. Well, right now we're seeing people starting to come to do the top, because it's closed from March till the end of July.
Right.
So that the peregrine falcons can mate.
Right.
But nobody would want to. Like, sometimes I've seen on Facebook and our social media saying, oh, how horrible, it's May and we can't go up there. Well, you can go up there the rest of the year, but that is for your protection, public safety again. These birds fly up to 240 miles an hour, average at 200 miles per hour.
Right.
And so you can't go up there. But, I mean, they're natural birds. They could choose lots of places that they choose locally, and they choose Trinidad and Fisher's Peak. That says that it's healthy. Animals can sense what's good.
Right.
And there's just so many benefits to making a trail to there. And yes, I have seen an uptick in bird watchers, and an uptick in people coming to the state park, because they can do 2 state parks now.
Right.
So they can come down and spend 3 or 4 days instead of coming down and thinking they're going to do a day and a half at at Trinidad Lake. They now have 2 places.
This is a comment, not a question, but being involved as I am in tourism and whatnot too, I remember some meetings where it's one of those things you don't know about, but bird watching is a big
It's a huge deal. They come in with all their stuff. That's how we know they're bird watching. It's, I mean, their telescopes and stuff is. But we could have paint with all the artists we have.
Right.
We could have a plein air show. We could have a regular quick draw show. We could have photography, and then just the regular bird watchers that love to come. But that's one of those activities that bring in people that really are just looking for goodness and nature, and a wonderful way to celebrate the outskirts of Trinidad and people coming in town at night, eating, dining, Main Street Live, our museums, and then going back out to the state parks during the day.
Okay. Now, this next question will be, and then we'll take a break after this, but you've kind of answered it, but just let's rehash it again. So how do you see City Council helping to secure proper funding for the city to address its infrastructure needs, programming needs, and special project needs? So I guess that's more along the lines of grants and state monies, and you have that's connections there.
Yeah, and that's the biggest part. And is that I do know I have state connections, and I've worked really hard for those state connections, and they love us down here. We have been so blessed that Denver does love Trinidad. And it's about grant writers and connections. That's the main thing when you're talking about trying to improve a city, is having people believe in you.
So you get up to Denver pretty frequently for different things?
Yep. It's up there. Yep.
Know the people up there and the government offices and...
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So with that, as I told you, is when we're getting started, we're going to take a 2 or 3 minute break, let you get a drink of water and breathe.
Okay.
Thank you very much, and we'll be back in just a minute. back, everyone. I'm Tom Murphy, and this is Trinidad Now on Trinidad Times TV and on YouTube, Trinidad Times TV 71. We're in beautiful downtown Trinidad in the Chappelle House, a historic cornerstone of Trinidad, built in 1886. Cy, we're continuing on with the second part of our interview, and I appreciate you doing this. You're running for mayor, not city council, as I said earlier. So we're going to continue down the list. As I want people to know, I gave you the questions beforehand so you could prepare and know that you're not going to get undercut with any trick questions.
By 10 minutes, you gave me the questions, so
Yes,
we're good. Just
that's
to verify
that's
that.
enough
Yeah, it's
time
all
to prepare.
sweet. It's
Otherwise,
very
you
sweet.
start overthinking, and I don't
Yeah.
want people to overthink. I want them to just
No,
be themselves,
and
and you are.
Tom, I got to thank you because you constantly do this, and
Yeah.
all that you do for the city so that people can get the word out is really exceptional. I don't know really what our city would do when you start thinking about all that, the influx of people being able to know more on hand by watching your channel. So
I'd start patting
Thanks.
myself on the back, but it's going to take away from time of this.
Okay.
And I could do that. So, Cy, what do you see as the future of Trinidad's economy, and what steps would you take to move the city towards that goal during your first? No, I'm sorry. I'm going to rephrase. I'm sorry. Your first 2 years as mayor.
Yeah.
I'd written this for council members. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Well, that is like my vision, and so I do have a program that I have personally been following to get myself in order to take over and be the best mayor that we can be, and it's called like the safer vision that I'm looking at. And it stands for, my first thing is safety. If anybody's ever worked with me, they know safety is number one. It's just like health. If you don't have safety, you don't have anything that's assured. So safety and cleanliness in the downtown area is my mode for moving forward on S. And then addressing the homeless, because that's what we need to do. And then really fostering economic development. We do not have an economic development board now. I've talked with the college and with people. Everybody's willing to put together an economic development board. Again, just to dab into something I said before, we need to bring our children up. We should have an economic development board. Adult, we should have an economic development board based on all the high schools having one person from the high schools. We should have a tourism board regular like we have. We should have a tourism board with the youth. So when it comes to fostering economic development, we need to let everyone know what we're trying to work for and get everybody else's ideas.
Right.
And that's engaging in economic development and education. We need to make sure that if our kids need some sort of education, and if that is not using drugs, to all of a sudden how to be successful to get into colleges, we need the education, we need the economic development, and we need resources. We need resources. We need to be strong in resources so that we know what grants are available. We know what the kids need. We know what the entrepreneurs need. We know what the artists need. And we need our resources. So we need a safe and clean place. We need to address the homeless issue. We need to foster economic development. We need to make sure that the education is in place for anybody who wants to move forward and help. We need to be better leaders to our children. And with that, we need to know what all resources are available to have that happen.
Okay, and I'm going to rephrase this slightly in this question, because you just pretty much answered it. It says, what is your overall vision for the next 4 years? If you were to be elected mayor and you had 2 to 4, it's a 2-year term for four times that you could serve. If you were mayor, what would you see? What would you like to see in Trinidad 2 years from now? What would you, if you're looking back saying we did this, this, and this?
My plan instituted.
Right.
Safer plan. All of it.
Okay.
Down.
We put some redundancy in here just to ask it.
I totally get it. But I am passionate about making sure that we're safe, that we're clean, so that people stop. All the entrepreneurs, you and I know, and how hard was that in the 80s how hard was that? I remember marketing Trinidad when we had 3 nightly restaurants.
Right.
Chef Lou's, El Capitan, and Nano Ananas, and that was it.
Yeah.
When people think we don't have places to go out to eat now, I am so grateful. There's the Almax and all the places in the marketplace, and that the Team Forgalardi's is here, and from the grill and the smokehouse and downtown, so many places that now we are so excited that they're here and the buildings are full, and those of us that live here, not just people that are coming through, have places to eat. Because if we don't keep up with tourism in Main and Commercial Street, those places cannot stay open, and then those of us that live here won't have those amenities.
Right. Okay. All right. What projects and accomplishment? I know that you are at some council meetings, so and you've had your finger on the pulse on a number of things. What projects or accomplishments of this current council do you see as the biggest benefits to city government
Well,
or the city's development?
the city's development, I think some years ago, even though it was very awkward, because sometimes things that you want to do
Right.
become awkward, is the commercial street redevelopment when they pulled up that street and they did the infrastructure inside of it and laid it back down with bricks that allows all those buildings and all those small town mom and dads, pops that come into town, they can now operate because all that infrastructure was redone. I think that was huge. I think that getting the pickleball courts
Right.
is huge. I think the maintenance of the swimming pool and that is really great, but our kids need more than that. Our
Right.
kids need 12 months. I don't know how, maybe it's because I had children here and raised them. I
Right.
just don't understand. We need to move forward to make sure that it's a full plan, but that we are including our families and our children.
Right. This may be a little bit of a rhetorical question, but don't you think when we talk about the marijuana industry, we knew it was going to boom, we knew it was going to bust.
Sure.
But don't you think the money that they put into their buildings and the electric and the plumbing and everything?
Absolutely. So the ordinances and the effects that were put in, so when people came in, absolutely blockbuster great. When they came in, you go up to places, not just, I don't want to disrespectfully say any other side towns, but so many towns you go to and there's that house with the green paint on the side. And our city didn't do that. They said, this is what is needed if you're going to bring a marijuana business in.
Right.
Knowing that at the point they would start leaving, that those buildings weren't just trashed up and used, they are now really recyclable for new businesses.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great thing that the city did.
Without naming names, you remember the purple buildings?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. I enjoyed that, though.
Yeah.
So we're going to veer off into a little bit of personal questions. So, Sai, what is your biggest success in life?
My children.
Okay.
But besides that, going through the Aviation Academy, building a cabin with my own two hands in the wood, having the friends that I do, getting beat up enough that I became a better leader.
Okay. Okay, so the flip side of that, what's your biggest failure in life?
My biggest failure in life is sometimes not giving my health the attention that it needs.
Okay.
We
Okay.
all eat bad and do things at times that
Yes,
aren't
we
the
do.
best for us.
Yes, we do.
Not sleep right.
Second last question. Who are or were your biggest influences in life?
Well, God. Probably my instructors at the Aviation Academy. I have really been blessed with having great leaders in my life. My business partner at the La Quinta, Charlie Albert, great man. Teachers that I worked for the government and that I was a federal mediator, and the accommodations I received through the government, I was really blessed to have people that believed in me and people that gave me a chance, and it allowed me to learn and grow. And I'm really grateful because I had a lot of great leaders in my life, really did.
Good deal. Last question, and as I said before we started, I want people to, I don't want to leave anything off the table. If I haven't asked a question and you want to address something, this is your time. And people can't see, but there's a little camera right here with the small dot. You're not going to talk to me, you're going to look at the dot and talk to the people and say whatever it is that you want to say at this point. No restrictions.
Okay. Oh, right now? Oh, okay.
Yes.
I've really worked really hard for Trinidad, and I love Trinidad, and I will give you my best, and we will accomplish great things together. So let's move forward and make this happen.
All right. Sai, thank you very much. All the interviews that I've done so far have been very impressive. I think Trinidad is going to be very blessed in this election, in whomever we pick, and that's fantastic, and I appreciate it. We have known each other for a long time, so it made this interview pretty easy. So thank you very much. And Manny's going to be in here shortly, and I wish you both well, because I think we are so fortunate, because I know a lot of communities, they have a lot of local issues when it comes to the small town politics. And I am going to pat myself. I think that Trinidad Times TV makes a difference, because we're there, people watch.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I myself don't like micromanaging people that are doing their job. So I know that city council many times, and the mayor is working really hard, and there's tough issues. And if I don't have to be at city council, but because of your station, I've got to be kept on knowing everything that is going on because of it. And so do our residents. So thank you for that.
Well, we both love Trinidad.
Yeah, we sure do.
It's like Samba Chicha. I love Trinidad.
I got the record. I got it framed on my wall at home.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Boy, it was just everywhere you went. Sam
was
there playing.
And only now sometimes I say to people, Sam Bachicha and Martin Bachicha works for us. I'm like, that's Sam Bachicha's son. And they're like, who's Sam Bachicha? I'm like, you got to know Trinidad
you had to be
Sam
here.
Bachicha. Yeah, you did.
Because if you went to an event and he was there playing, you heard either the beginning or at the end.
Yeah, and now we just to thinking about the music that Sam brought to Trinidad 30 years ago, for many years, was really fabulous. I mean, he brought it 40 or 50 years ago, but 30 years he was in all the bars. Remember Fishy's out at Best Western? He'd play out there a lot. Yeah.
All right. Sai, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Tom Murphy, and this is Trinidad Now in beautiful downtown Trinidad in the Chappelle House. And please like, share, and subscribe if you watch this on YouTube. Thank you, folks.